they were having a high-value target meeting in this house. They saw us walk down the street. They radioed to the people in the house, and they waited for us. When you go in the house and the hair stands up on your neck, you just know there's evil there.
America is at war.
My name's Jeremiah Workman. I'm from Richwood, Ohio. I served in the Marine Corps with 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines during the Second Battle of Fallujah, also known as Phantom Fury. Richwood's a small farm community here in northwest Ohio. Small town, 2,000 people, 2 stoplights, you blink and you miss it. I knew as a youngster that I wanted to join the military. I just wasn't quite sure on which branch I was going to join. My father served in the Army, and my grandfather served in the Army in World War II. I think probably most people thought I would follow in my dad and my grandfather's footsteps and join the Army. One day, the Marine recruiter came in with his dress blues. Not only did I turn and look, but everybody in the cafeteria turned and looked. And you could hear the murmuring and people saying, wow, that's sharp. It was the way the recruiter walked. It was the way he talked. It's the way he carried himself. It was different than the other branches. And just knowing the history of the Marine Corps and starting to peel that onion back, going back to, Iwo Jima, Quezon, things like that, you really understand that the Marine Corps is the tip of the spear, and that's the kind of person I was. I wanted to be the tip of the spear. Originally, I wanted to be an MP. I wasn't old enough, and I ended up joining security forces, which is a battalion within the Marine Corps that specializes in physical security. Usually nuclear weapons, but they also have what's called fast teams that can deploy anywhere around the world at a moment's notice. It's a specialized kind of path to go down in the Marine Corps. Everybody's a rifleman, everybody's an infantry guy. That's their base, and then they teach you the security side of the house.
Sit up straight and look at me!
I arrived at Parris Island on August 19th, 2001. Little did we know that in less than a month, we would be attacked on our own soil. So I remember very vividly standing in line at the recruit barber shop on September 11th, and the barbers came running out of the barber shop yelling, "We're under attack, we're under attack." That's when it got real.
I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
The situation, the gravity of everything, that's when it clicked. When I look back at my time, especially arriving at Parris Island, it was almost like 9/11 never happened for me. I never saw it, never heard it, never seen anything until the day I graduated, which was November 16th. I knew that my Marine Corps time, whether it was going to be 4 years or 30, I knew that it was going to be a different path. After 9/11, we knew we were going to be going overseas. It wasn't if, it was when. When you look to your left and to your right when you graduated boot camp, you knew that somebody in that platoon we graduated with wasn't going to be there, whether it was 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. We were all going to end up in the sandbox. So I was selected out of Security Forces School to go to Naval Submarine Base, Kings Bay, Georgia. There were a couple good things that came out of Kings Bay. One, I got to meet Jason Dunham. For those that don't know, Jason Dunham, Medal of Honor recipient for his actions in Iraq. What I remember about Jason is him just being a natural leader and how the Marines gravitated towards him. I knew he was going to be special then.
On a dusty road in western Iraq, Corporal Dunham gave his lone life so that the men under his command might live. This morning it's my privilege to recognize Corporal Dunham's devotion to the Corps and country, and to present his family with the Medal of Honor.
And those of us that were at Kings Bay together and we kind of grew up in the Marine Corps, I'm not surprised that guy did what he did. Living among giants, man. One of the downsides to being at Kings Bay, I think for me, was OIF 1 had kicked off. So a lot of us were kind of bummed out, thinking we might not get the opportunity to go over and do what we signed up to do. Little did we know that this was going to drag on for 20 years and that everybody was going to get a piece of the action. About a week later, I'm getting orders of 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, and that was super exciting in itself because the 5th Marines is the most decorated regiment in the Marine Corps. Just a lot of history, a lot of, the lore, everything that goes with it. They had just gotten back from OIF 1 when I showed up. So you got PFCs and Lance Corporals with ribbons up to here. They've done Dance with the Devil. They know their shit and they know what's going on. I had to take a long, hard look in the mirror. And, I think the one thing that really helped me out when I got to 3-5 was I just humbled myself and I went to the junior Marines and I said, hey, look, I'm a mortarman by trade. I haven't touched a mortar in 2 years. Can you help me? And I think that paid dividends. They respected me for it. I didn't come in there and try to change shit and, barking orders and things like that. What I lacked in experience as a mortarman, I tried to make up with just being a genuine, caring leader. July of 04, we did a battalion exercise out at 29 Palms. They said, everybody get in a battalion formation, and I'm thinking, oh hell, it just never happened. You don't have battalion formations ever. I see Hueys and CH-46 helicopters flying over. Word started to travel through the ranks that one of our own was receiving the Navy Cross that day. That was Brian Shantosh. He was a lieutenant in OIF 1 in India Company when he did his actions to receive the Navy Cross. The Navy Cross is the second highest award for the sea services. I believe it was first awarded in 1919. You think of Chesty Puller, John Basilone, some of the biggest names in the history of the Marine Corps. And when I shook that man's hand, in my mind, that guy was Chesty Puller. To hear what he had done for this nation and for his Marines, it gave me goosebumps. He was a man's man, a leader of Marines, and I was like, you know what? That's what I want to be like. I knew then, if I can carry myself like that guy, and I can be the leader that he is to his Marines, I should do pretty well in my career.
أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله.
Word had finally come down that we were up next in the rotation to go to Iraq. We ended up in a place called Fallujah. The first day that we showed up there, a rocket attack hit Camp Fallujah. And that's when I knew, you can't let your guard down there. Fallujah was off limits. After the first battle, all the Americans pulled out of the city. It just became the Wild West in there. They were booby trapping it, weapons everywhere. You saw the city, and you're like, damn, you know that's bad in there. When our lieutenant said, hey, we're going into Fallujah, and we're not coming out until we take it.
You will feel regret. You will feel sadness. At the end of the day, you will continue to breathe fire. Good to go.
I started soaking everything in. I was looking at the Marines, checking their gear, making sure they had everything they needed. But I knew in the back of my mind, somebody wasn't coming back. There were 5 battalions.
Spread out, squadrons. Spread them out.
We worked like a squeegee. We started at the north end, and we just pushed our way south.
There you go.
Sometimes they would ambush us. Sometimes we would attack and hunt them down. Every day presented a different challenge. The enemy doesn't wear a uniform. They're shaking your hands during the day and they're trying to kill you at night. You are constantly surrounded by the threat. It seemed like the fighting was starting to die down. And at that point, we were trying to get all the weapons and ammunition out of the city, going door to door. And they were having a high-value target meeting in this house. There was no signs of anything outside the house. It looked like every other house that you'd been in 1,000 times. They saw us walk down the street. They radioed to the people in the house, and they waited for us. We stacked up at the doorway, and it was, hey, on 3, we're going in. We walked into a hornet's nest. You get up there and you're looking at the enemy. We're exchanging gunfire. You could make out like the insurgent's beard, like moving through the shadows. It was 3 hours of throwing grenades at each other, small arms, AK-47s, 10 feet away from each other. In the heat of the battle, and I'm looking around and what I was witnessing those Marines do, there was no way in hell that was going to stop me from going back in that house. And when I came out of the house one time to get more ammunition, to get ready to go back in the house, one of the Marines, he was in the back of the Humvee. When the corpsman turned, I could just see it in his face. And he said, "He's fucking gone, man, he's gone." When we finally were able to get our 3 Marines that had been killed out of the house, we called it an airstrike. I could hear the F-18s coming. And we just leveled the whole block. We killed every insurgent in the house. It was the first time in 3 hours that I had a moment to gather my thoughts and think about what was going on. Taking the life of an insurgent doesn't bother me. When you see a Marine go down, it changes you. When you see Marines that have been shot with an armored piercing AK-47 round through the shoulder, and you're yelling at them, ordering them to get the hell out of the house, and they literally look at you and say, "I'm not leaving. My boys are in here." That's love. The actions and the things that I witnessed that day are what motivates me to keep going. We got back that day to our little compound where we stayed, and we had to go through all their personal belongings. That's probably one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life. Pictures of girlfriends, love letters, and it's like, you know what? We still got 4 more months of this shit. Raleigh Smith, James Phillips, and Eric Hillenberg. I will always say their names. They brought so much joy, just their presence, and they weren't there. It was 20 years ago. As long as I'm alive, they'll always be remembered, and I'll always tell their story to help keep their legacy alive. Every day when I wake up and look in the mirror to wash my face, that's what I think about.
Tell me your name again.
Our mission is to train each one of you to become a United States Marine.
The Marine Corps is a machine, and it don't stop rolling. We got back in April of 2005, and a couple months later, I had orders to Paris Island to be a drill instructor. One day, the company commander at Delta Company at Paris Island, he came and he pulled me out of the squad bay. He goes, "The commanding general of Paris Island is going to be calling you at 1300. I believe it has something to do with an award." They brought me into the First Sergeant's office, and the general called and he said, "Can you come down to the command post?" I'm thinking, I'm getting court-martialed for some silly bullshit. He said, "Sergeant Workman, you're being awarded the Navy Cross, son." And I just sat there. Very awkward moment. I don't know what he was expecting from me, but I just hung my head because it brought it all back. It made it fresh and made it new again. Now I'm being awarded something that was so brutal and just horrific. Everything came piling on me again. I just had this gut feeling that it was going to thrust me into the light, and I wanted no piece of that. I received my Navy Cross at a recruit graduation, and I remember going home, and I just told Jess, my wife, I said, "I can't be this person." I was so mentally torn on accepting that Navy Cross because we didn't come home with those 3 Marines. You know, something very bad had to happen for somebody to get an award, and I can think of probably 8 other guys that were in that house that day. They should have got Medal of Honors. It's really hard to put into words, but it's a lot of weight. And when I was first awarded the Navy Cross, I didn't actually wear the damn thing because I just didn't feel good about it. One of my mentors told me, he goes, "You need to wear that award for those Marines. That award gives you a license to tell their story, and people will listen. And it happened to be Sergeant Major Kent, the 16th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. And when he put it like that, I can do that. And he's a guy's like a dad to me. This is really the first time I've talked about this in a long fucking time. For a reason. That Navy Cross is in my basement. I'd give it back in a heartbeat to have those Marines, you know. Having a wife, kids, man, they never got to experience that. So a lot of people have told me throughout my life that I'm lucky. And I just don't see it that way. Now, I'm 40 years old now. And this November will be the 20th anniversary of the kickoff of the Battle of Fallujah. The memories are just as raw, the emotions. But I know that I have a purpose here. And that purpose is to keep their legacy and their memory alive. I hope my son will grow up one day to be half the man that those Marines were. Just half. And he'll be special.